Yo, what's up? It's your boy H2O, and welcome back to another episode of the New Balance Podcast. That's right, we got another one in the holster. But before I get to my guest, man, shout out to all the New Balance family, the audience, the viewers, man. You know, I always take time to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you, there's no New Balance Podcast. I want to say thank you because I see the viewership going up in all the other areas that we're putting it. That means a lot to me. That means what we're doing is working and you guys are wanting it and you're wanting more. So I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You have such an incredible way of encouraging me and pushing me. And I just want to encourage you to keep rocking with us. Let's keep building this because in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be places we could not even have imagined. Now, enough of that said. Yeah, I got another one in the building, but this one is so special. Like I always say, they all are. This one hits home in a different way because I'm on with a dear friend of mine, New Balance Podcast. Show some love for my main man, Carlos Wilson. What's up, baby?
Man, what's good? Just a pleasure to be
Oh,
on here
oh
with you,
man,
man. It's
come on.
amazing. It's amazing how life comes full circle. And
Yes,
I
yes.
know we were talking the other day, and you said it was 25 years had
25,
elapsed,
man.
and
25.
so many things have changed in those 25 years, but those roots
Yeah,
don't change. They stay the
they do not
same. So
change,
it's
man. They
always
do
a
not
pleasure
change.
to be with someone that has the same roots as I do. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
man.
big time.
That's big
Mhm.
time. Well, you heard him say roots, right? So he and I, we're from the same area, from the same town. And man, you know what's crazy? And you and I knew this back in the day. But you know, when you're in it, you got to go with it to a certain
Mhm.
degree, right?
Mhm.
So this young man, Carlos, we're both from Palestine, right? He actually went to Palestine High School. I went to Westwood. So, you know, on the surface of things, we shouldn't even be doing no podcast, right? Because it's
Right.
that type of thing, right? Uh,
Hatfields and the McCoys.
Come on, man. Come on, huh? You know, I was teasing him before we got on. I said, I'm wearing orange and white today just because he on the
Yeah.
podcast, right? And but what I love about it, two things about this is even though, you know, our schools was a big rivalry back in the day.
Mhm.
And we've had some heartfelt battles, man. And to be honest, I hate to admit this, golly, boy, this
Go
cuts me
ahead.
like a knife. But I gotta go ahead and say, man, they got the better of the rivalry, man. I got to say, man, they put them things on the court. You know what I mean? They beat us. They beat us more than
We
once.
always felt like we love you guys, but y'all was always like our little brothers.
Like the
That's
little
how we
brother.
looked
See
at
what I,
it.
you see, he throwing shots. He shots fired. You see that,
Oh man.
but it's all love. It's all love. But this is what I dig about this guy. Even though there was it was a heated rivalry, um, rightfully so. One of the things about this guy was off the court, we were cool, man. We were down like four flat tires, and he was always one of the guys, man, just had his head on straight. And you know, a lot of other stuff that can get caught up into those type of things. He was never one of those guys to be caught up into that thing. And so we've always had this real mutual respect, cool, kind of laid back, calm, you know. And I tell you, everybody know if I show up to the party, I was definitely gonna be the life of the party. But he was the same way, right? If he was in the building, he was the
Oh
life of the
man.
party, man. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
it's incredible, man, to fast forward all these years and to see where we are and what we're doing now. And so one of the things I wanted to start this podcast off by saying it is he now this is gonna take him by surprise, but I'm gonna break down what I mean. It's an honor to be on with him because he's a legend, right? And I know when people say, oh man, you see me as a legend. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna explain to you what I mean by a legend. And I think there's a world definition of a legend, and it's nothing wrong with it. Trust me, I ain't tripping. Because if I say a name on here from our town, if I say the name Hunky Cooper, everybody well we all know he's a legend.
Oh man.
He's a hometown legend.
Most
Wherever
definitely.
he's been a legend. Where he went to college, where he played professionally, what he's doing now, he's left his mark wherever he's gone. He's definitely a legend. But I'm also on with a legend. Let me break it down. And I'm going to read the definition so I'll be crystal clear. It says a definition of a legend is an extremely famous, watch this, or notorious person, especially in a particular field. That's what they said a legend is. So why do I say Carlos Wilson is a legend? When you come from where he and I comes from, and you overcome the things in life that he and I have overcome in life, and when you do it in a way, we know that you don't always get the rah rah or the support that you absolutely need. Many times it comes through the chatter, the noise, and people throwing rocks at you. But what I love about Carlos is he's taken the rocks that people have thrown and he's built paths for people to follow. Why? Because what people criticize today, they're going to applaud tomorrow. And by the end of this podcast, some of the things that he's doing, some of the things he has done, you won't be able to help but applaud his efforts and give him his kudos for the things he's doing in life. So Carlos, that's why I call you a legend, man. If they talk about based off of our personal life in that way and other stuff, man, no, no, man. Come on, we're not even getting in the category. But when God puts his hands on your life and he calls for a thing, right? You cannot deny the work of that thing. And so I think it's important, man, to celebrate people. And I'm a big proponent, a big person of giving people their flowers right now. What we waiting for? Well, I gotta wait 30 years from now. No, no, we're gonna do it right now. So, man, shout out to you. And
Thank you.
I'm hoping I'm demonstrating something for people, man. Like me and him, man, we had a different season of life. What we look like having some beef or falling out or dislike,
Right.
man, we know when we get on the same page and we can, even though our visions may be different, but if we can get on the same page, support each other, put that rah rah behind each other, man, that's when as a people, as our families, our communities, the towns we come from, that's when we can have some real forward movement. So, man, I just wanted to take some time to shout you out and give you some flowers from from a person that's supposed to be your enemy, man. You know what I mean? And for
You know,
me, yeah,
yeah,
and for me, I think that's big for real. And people that know
that's
me know
huge.
this ain't no fluff, this ain't no that type of thing, no tickle me Elmo. This is just real facts. And this is the place that we got to get to in life.
That's
Go
huge.
ahead.
That's huge. It's an honor and it's a pleasure. And that's one of the things that's missing in our society
It's
is
man, it's missing.
black men
Yes.
uplifting each other and
Yeah.
and 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 celebrating each other.
That's it, man.
And I'm still a little uncomfortable sometimes, when it comes to my accolades and my life and my story. But it's definitely an honor, like I said before, and it's definitely welcome, and I definitely appreciate the
Yeah.
kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Because we got to redefine what a superhero is, right?
Right.
I believe, me personally, I'm a big Marvel guy. I love all that Marvel stuff, man. I believe all of us, I won't say I won't deem everybody to be a superhero because superheroes have to they have to carry a weight that the everyday person doesn't necessarily get to carry. But all of us have I would what I would call a superpower, right? We you and I both know we sports guys, man. Ain't no I in team, ain't no I in we, ain't no I in us. But when you put the thing under the microscope and you really dial in, you can see the DNA of a thing, right? And so today, I know we're going to get to see the DNA of the thing because you can see a lot of stuff on the surface of it. But really, man, when you get down to the DNA can give you the evidence that you need to know what a real thing is. And so part of that is, you know, man, my life was in shambles for a season, man. I mean, just from top to bottom, it was crazy. And I was all over the place in my life. And the number one reason was because I was so focused on trying to be the DNA of other people and what I thought other people's success was.
Right.
I didn't get my life together until I went back to the giver of life, which has the answer for my life specifically. And when God showed me what was in my DNA, I've been able to put things together and arrive at this place. And so, when I look at you, we all graduated the same year. And obviously during our college years, it's a big deal when we come home, those type of things. We see each other. But then kind of once college ends or whatever happens, all of our lives really, really take different paths, right? So
Right.
that was really the hiatus of me really not seeing not just you, but people I grew up
Right.
with, people I went to school with. And then for me, I went through this season of where for a minute, man, especially when my mom passed away, man, I kind of, I severed ties with my hometown, man. And
Mhm.
it was like, man, I went through this whole metamorphosis. Part of it, but looking back at it, sure, I could have maybe handled it better. But I
Right.
thought it was the most important thing for me in able to get my life and be in the place I needed to be. So what
Right.
I've tried to do really these last 5 years is really reconnect back home, back to my roots, because I believe there's some work there for me to do.
Right.
So when I talked to you, um, and we talked a little bit on surface about some things, I really want to get into um this topic that we've been doing, man. Probably I don't know for how many weeks, 12, 13 weeks, man. And the title is this: Living Inside of What's Living Inside of You. So when I talked to you, I felt like, man, Carlos is really living in that, and he's in heavy, hot pursuit. So really, I've done a lot of talking, man, kind of in this introductory. I really want to be quiet and kind of hear from you, Carlos. Kind of let the people know who Carlos Wilson is and tell them a little bit about your journey. And from there, man, we'll kind of dissect this conversation, man.
I got you. Basically, most people know me as a Division I basketball coach.
Absolutely.
Um, that's that's kind of where I've made a name for myself
Right.
in the world as a basketball coach. But not a lot of people know the journey that I was on to become, a Division I basketball coach, and it's very
Absolutely.
unique, and it's a very unique story. It's a very unique journey. And once I got in that arena, I knew I was different. I knew my
Hmm.
story was different. It starts at Palestine, Texas, Palestine High School.
Yeah.
Grew up, you know, in the New Edition neighborhood of Palestine,
Come on, baby.
and
Come on, man.
fortunately,
Shout out New Edition.
yeah, New Edition,
Come
the
on, man.
whole. But fortunately, we don't have a lot of heroes, coming from those small towns, coming from those areas. There's not a lot of
Absolutely.
people that's made it that we can touch and talk to and
That's
feel.
right.
But I was actually lucky. I had a cousin, Hunky Cooper,
Right.
that he was the hero. He was my childhood hero,
Absolutely.
and I got to see, on a daily basis, what someone who's on that journey and who's on that grind, what it looks like. I spent a lot of time with him growing up, and so
Right.
I knew what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, and I just had to figure out how to get there. But that's when the real work starts. You leave that small, sheltered environment, that small
Yeah.
hometown, and now they place you on this big college campus.
Absolutely.
And I got to college, and my head is spinning. I haven't ever haven't been around this many people, this much diversity, the women, the
Absolutely.
alcohol, the drugs, and all that, and no one's telling you no. You know what I'm saying? No one's
That's right.
telling you, you need to focus. You're here for this, that, and the third, and no one tells you that. So I am a cautionary tale of someone who goes to college and doesn't necessarily have the proper life skills to maintain and manage, as a college student, as a college athlete.
Got you.
Um, and so that's me. That's my story. So I get there and I quickly forgot why I was there. You
That's
know what I
it,
mean?
man.
As quick as I got there, I forgot why I was there, and my
Yeah.
priorities shifted. And I paid the price dearly for it. I've always been an intelligent a person. I've always been an above average student,
Right.
and I've always been mild mannered. And just a calm individual. Don't get into much trouble.
Right.
But once I got to college, all my home training kind of was thrown out the window. I
Come on,
couldn't.
man. Come
Yeah.
on, doc.
So long story short, I leave school. School's not working out for me. Sports didn't work out for me, and
Hmm.
so I entered the workforce. But once again, I've never been in the workforce before. So when you're this big time college athlete, everything is given to you.
That's it.
Um, everything is placed at your feet when you've been a big time athlete your whole life. And then when that reality of real life hits you,
Mm-hmm.
It does something. It does something to all of us, and I can't explain. But there's a depression period. There's a wilderness period. There's a period in which you're just lost. And I went through that. Luckily, I got married. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Oh
saying
man.
luckily because if I didn't get married
Oh my
young,
God.
man, it would have been
Come on.
real. It'd have been a tragedy
Yes,
somewhere. So,
sir.
but I
Yes,
got
sir.
married and my focus has shifted. And now I have a family,
Right.
as a young man, 21, 22 years old,
Right.
trying to be the father that I read about, that I've seen, but not
Yeah.
necessarily experienced. And the strange thing happened when we're from the places that we're from. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of opportunity, financially. But guess who has all the money? It's the drug dealers.
Come
You know
on,
what I'm
man.
saying?
Come
These
on.
these are like my big brothers, that I grew up with in the neighborhood, and
Right.
people that I used to look up to growing up. So now they're the ones that have all the money. And you work in this job, and you're like, man, I see him. He's driving this car. He lives in this house, and
Yes, sir.
you know what? I might need to try that too.
Yeah.
And I did. I tried it and was very, very, very successful. When you
Incredible.
place, my hustle and my intelligence
Right.
into it, what I'm saying, I was the natural for it, but it never felt natural. I was
That's
the
it.
natural, but it never felt natural. It never felt like something that was really, really embedded and a part of me. And I always knew that, what I'm saying, I was that's not how I want to live.
Right.
But when you have, X amount of dollars coming in, each day, each week, it becomes addicting. That lifestyle becomes addicting. And you fast forward it over the next 10 years of my life, this is what I did. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
had jobs here and there, but this is basically what I did. But I've always been a smart person, and I've
Yeah.
always looked at the successes and the failures of others and based my moves somewhat off of, what's happening in real time in real life with people that I
Absolutely.
know and I'm
Absolutely.
close with. And I said all that to say this: my friends started going to jail one by one. You know what I mean? They
Come on,
started
man.
getting prison terms one by one. And I'm looking at myself like, am I going to be the drug dealer that retires from the game with not a scratch on him? Or am I going to go to jail too at some point? And
Come
when
on,
you
dog.
look out, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to jail myself. So I've
Mhm.
realized that. So either I'm bracing to go to jail, or I'm going to have to change my life. You know what I'm saying? One way or
Right.
the other. And at that point, that's the one thing that I want to do. I want to provide a better life for my family.
Yeah.
And you can't provide a better life for your family incarcerated. It
Just
doesn't
doesn't
matter how
happen.
much money you made, but being an absent father is definitely
That's
wasn't
it.
in the cards.
That's
And
it.
so, with that being said, man, I asked God to, if He could uh, make a way for me to to follow my passion and my dream,
Right.
I would leave that life behind. And
Right.
next thing you know, an opportunity came up for me. I had transitioned to the Woodlands, to Houston, Texas at the time, but it was the opportunity for me to coach at Heritage Christian Academy in Cleveland,
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay. Okay.
I moved my nephew in with me to get him off the street so he wouldn't be a victim of the streets of Palestine. And he's 6'7", 6'8". I wound up enrolling him at the school, and I asked him like, "Hey, do you guys need any help? You know what I mean? I got time on my hands." They was like, "Sure." So I volunteered as a coach, and that's when I discovered, my passion for coaching basketball. And so, fast forward a few years later, I've worked my way as to the head coaching spot at Christian Life Center Academy. And I coached DeAndre Jordan there,
Oh
Ben
man. Okay.
McLemore there. So I
Okay.
had 35 Division I players, and I understood these kids, and I vibed with these kids, and I spoke a language that a coach has not really, spoken to them, and they couldn't figure out, man, why is this dude so hip?
That's
And in
it.
my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm 2, 3 years removed
That's it.
from
That's it,
from
bro.
the streets. And you know what I'm saying? So,
That's crazy.
but we all connected, and I had a wonderful, exciting
Right.
career there, but it was one thing missing. I didn't have my college degree, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once again, you attain goals, and then you have to reset goals, and sometimes you got to take 2 steps backwards to take 2 steps forward. So I wound up having to leave Christian Academy because my dream has always been to become a Division I coach,
Right.
and I left Christian life because I had to go back to school, and so I went to Tyler Junior College.
Okay.
So that was my first college coaching job, was at Tyler Junior College. But because I didn't have a degree, Harry, they had to be creative with finding a way to get me paid.
Yeah.
So they made me a supervisor over the janitorial staff at Tyler Junior College, and people didn't know that I think we played on Saturdays and maybe Tuesdays or something like that. But those same seats that they were sitting in, those same bathrooms that they were going to, man, I had cleaned them
You
that
had to
morning.
clean them,
You know
man.
what I'm
You had to
saying?
clean
Like
them.
I had cleaned them that morning. And now once again, though, I'm back making, man, I think my first year coaching in college, I probably made 11 or $12,000
Oh,
a
wow.
total.
Incredible.
And
Incredible.
the crazy thing is, so now they have the NIL, and they give the kids, the financial aid, for the, semester, and they have stipends and things like that.
Yep.
And I want to say my last year at Arkansas State University, I think our kids, if you got Pell Grant and you got stipends and all that, I think those kids was getting probably about 14, $15,000 a year. And
Absolutely.
I'm thinking to myself, a couple years ago, man, I had 11,000 as a grown man, and
As
you
a
guys in
grown
college.
man.
You know what I'm saying? So they're very fortunate. But you know what? I said all that to say this. The path that I've taken to get what I wanted.
Yeah.
It wasn't always easy.
Right.
There was some tough nights. There was some tough days ahead, and all this, like, I'm re-enrolled in the school, and I'm working, I'm coaching, and I'm trying to graduate, you know.
Absolutely.
And it all begins with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I knew my goal, and how do I get here? I have to re-enroll in college. Okay, you re-enroll in college. What are the amount of classes that you have to take? And I remember this notepad, and I still have this notepad down in my office, and it had every class that I had to take,
Right.
to graduate. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this in 3 years. I'm going to finish this thing out in 3 years, if all possible. And every time I take a class, I'd scratch it off. And at first,
Mm-hmm.
that list looked like, oh my God,
Ooh.
it's going to take me
Ooh.
forever. But,
Right.
after a while, I just kept crossing it off, kept crossing it off. So after a year at Tyler Junior College, I went on to Odessa College.
Okay.
And so I spent 2 years at Odessa College. And while I was at Odessa College, I graduated from the college. And I also attended the University of Texas, Permian Basin. And I got
Absolutely.
my bachelor's degree from there. And I remember sometimes, like, all the assignments were due on Sunday evening and Sunday midnight. And so we would, practice or whatever, the case may be. And I would sit in the office and I would watch the Cowboys or whatever football game on. I'm typing papers and things like that. And, my wife would bring me dinner, or the kids would come see me, bring me a cupcake, and, bring me some Gatorade and stuff like that. And I remember at midnight, every Sunday, I was pressing send on that
Yes, sir.
last assignment,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, in order
Yes, sir.
to, saying to realize this dream. So now I've gotten closer, and I'm graduating this summer, and I start putting in, the different resumes, sending resumes and applications all over the place. And I get to a point where Arkansas State is interested, and they wind up hiring me, without the degree, but it's in the contingency that I completed by the end of the summer.
Right.
So they hired me,
Mm-hmm.
and when people talk about pressure, pressure isn't a game, a
No, it's not.
basketball game, of sports. It's real life
It's real
situations.
life, man.
Pressure is, I'm recruiting for Arkansas State. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody in the coaching world is at these AAU events, and they're having the time of their lives at nighttime. And
Right.
I'm finishing up my last courses. And if I don't pass these classes, I don't have the job at Arkansas State, nor do I have a job at Odessa, because I've
That's it.
already let them go. I've let them know that I'm leaving, and
Absolutely.
so that's pressure. And
That
but
is pressure.
I wind up getting through it, and I wind up passing, and then boom, and the rest is history. I was a Division I coach. for the last about 8 years
Hmm.
total. As far as a college coach, probably about 11, 12 years total as a college coach, and then you
Right.
add the high school. I'm about 20 years. I was 20 years in the business at
Yes,
that point.
sir. Yes, sir.
So
So, man, when you, oh man, I thank you first of all for sharing that, man, and like you shared some, you went down in the vault and opened up some stuff
right,
to share that journey. But like I told you, you're perfect for this subject, living inside of what's living inside of you, and I'm hoping what people are getting and gathering, well, hopefully they were taking notes that you had a dream to be a Division 1 coach, right?
right,
Now, obviously, obviously, if you're listening, his journey to get to the dream, he didn't start it off right, right?
right,
Because we all know what that ends up. But he believed that that was one of the ways he could jumpstart to get himself in position to do it, right? And
right,
thank God those plans failed the way that they did,
right,
right?
right.
And
Yeah,
he spent a lot of time talking about his journey of how he had to work, the odd jobs he had to take to get to his dream, right? Now, watch this. Please understand, and I've said this every episode, when you live inside of what's living inside of you, we don't get a pass to put the rest of our life on hold while we go chase, become, and turn into the people or the thing that we are chasing. You have to know why he's chasing. Watch this. I want to break it down so people can real time know what it looks like. You have to know, man, he was married with a family. So that means his family, whenever the dream had to take a turn, that means his wife and his kids have to be on board with it.
right,
Right. And when I say be on board, that don't necessarily always mean that we agree 100%.
right,
When I say be on board with, they have to trust him
right,
where he's leading them, because a father, a man, that's part of his responsibility is to lead his family. And I'm gonna tell you, man, my wife, I've been telling her she got to do a podcast. People talk to me, but they need to hear her side of the story, because
most
man,
definitely.
she's had to trust me while trembling so many different times, right?
Right, right,
And a couple of those times, man, we had some flats along the way. The car
right,
stopped working. We had to get another. All these things that go into it. But the thing of it is, she rode with me. She was the gasoline in the car pushing me, even when I
right,
was like, man, let's turn around and go back. All
right,
those things, man, she encouraged me. So I want you to understand the pressure. I tell kids all the time, man, and I'm really, I don't know if I'll get back into it. Um, I know it's a really a want, a desire, because I love the game. I love the game of basketball. I love teaching it, but I've also figured out a way how to teach life and the sport at the same time. But one of
right,
the things, man, when I'm working out with kids and just trying to help them improve their game, one of the things they're always talking about, Coach H, man, you are just talking about how easy it is, right? And I tell them, I say, bro, listen to me. I say, with 3 seconds left on the clock, you got 3 free throws. Having to hit two of them, that is not pressure.
right.
I say, let me tell you what pressure is, bro. Just like what you said. It's like, bro, I got this mortgage that's due and all these other things due. And I don't have no other outside money. I don't have, I can't call my mom. I can't call these people to come do it. My credit's so tore up, the bank ain't gonna loan me no money.
Been
That's
there,
pressure.
been
Because if
there.
I don't pay, we got to get out of here.
Gotta go,
You
gotta
understand?
go.
I said, that is pressure.
Right,
I said, the type of player I was when I played, like I relished in those times. And this is why I believe I was good under pressure like that, because the pressure that we had at home, my mom, man, she had to divorce my pops. We lived in H Town,
mm,
right? She had to leave. She probably wouldn't have lived. So
right,
we had to leave, re uh reconvene. That's how I ended up getting to
mm,
Palestine, right?
mm,
Tucker, as you will, Long Lake, as you will, right? She working 2 jobs. Those first 3 years, us being there, we only saw her on Sundays when it was time for us to go to church, because she worked one job, go to another one, right?
wow,
Having to
wow,
believe God, what we gonna eat. Um, had a janky car, understanding, you
mm,
understand, didn't know how we were gonna do X, Y, and Z. And watch, Every time God will make a way.
Hmm.
Like living in that and seeing her like have to stand on the front line and deal with it. And I'm seeing deal with it like she did with like there. She could have been like some of the other ladies,
Hmm.
and had some side money coming in without going
Hmm.
too graphic. She
Right.
didn't do that. She
Right.
did not do that. She went out and worked and got it. She was taking on jobs she otherwise wouldn't even have to work. But because she had 3 kids, it didn't matter. She's like, I'm gonna take care of my kids, right? So seeing her do the things that she did, watching how we had to grow up, that was pressure, man.
Right.
That was
Right.
pressure. I
Right.
mean, that was pressure. So when I got into a game and had to have a catch for a first down, this ain't no pressure. This is easy. Throw me the
Right.
ball. We're gonna get the first down. Okay, I need to hit the shot. We're gonna hit the shot. So when you listen to this, and whether I don't care what your age are, when you define what pressure is, I want you to redefine it, right?
Right.
Because there's some things we're dealing with in life. Ain't no pressure, man.
Yeah.
Ain't no pressure getting up in the morning looking at your social media posts.
Right.
You got 250 likes and you wanted 1,000 likes. That ain't no pressure. Man, that stuff don't even matter.
Right.
Right? It don't even matter what the people next door to you have. All these things that we have allowed to give us pressure and have pressure. What I just heard from you, that's pressure. Because taking that journey, at one point you said you had a list of all the classes and you knew
Hmm.
exactly what you need to take. And you said when you took a class, you scratched it off. And you said when
Hmm.
you first started, it was like, man, it ain't like you scratching off because it's like
Right.
time. It's
Yeah.
like the time of it, right? That's the pressure. It's like, man, do I have what it takes to like go through this and actually walk this thing out? Because you and I both know as a coach and really as a teacher, you and I both know if you're going to go to college, the best time to go to college is right after you graduate.
Yes.
Go ahead and sacrifice. Go, go as go as long as you can go. Right after, while you're youngest, you're most you got your strength, you're vibrant, all that stuff. You and I both know when you decide to go back some however many years later, it is hard.
It's definitely tough.
It's hard, man. From the financial, you trying to balance everything. And I'm gonna just be honest with you. When you having to go back and do it, something
Yeah.
is either gonna could possibly fall, or you're not gonna be able to give something the attention that it needs. And many
Right.
times we know what that is. It ends up
Right.
being our family, right?
Right.
So
Right.
man, when you live inside of what's living inside of you, it is a cost. And I'm so glad, Carlos, you didn't throw in the towel, man. For
Right.
somebody listening, do not throw in the towel. Your path may have to be similar to Carlos's. He
Right.
ended up being there, he ended up arriving. But man, did you hear his journey? Now, if you pull up a map, you heard the places he coached, the places he went to school, right? He lives in Houston right now. He's from Palestine. I want you to get a map if you can, and I want you to chart those places and tell me how close they are. Ain't none of them close.
Most definitely.
Ain't
Most
none of
definitely.
them close, man. So in other words, it costs you something. It costs you something to get there. So now what I want to do, Carlos. So now you finished it, man. You graduated. Now you are living the dream. You are a Division 1 coach, right?
Hmm.
So you and I both know when you get the thing and you get there, it's like I made it. But now it's like you starting back over from ground zero because now
Yeah.
I got to prove not to the university, I got to prove to myself that I belong here.
Yeah.
And so that's a different type of pressure. So kind of go walk us through what that looks like, what that felt like, how the battles that you had to battle, the inward battles. We already know you got the outward
Right.
battles, because when you're a Division 1 coach, period, you need to produce, homie.
Right. Most
I'm
definitely.
just
Most
gonna tell you
definitely.
right now, they be like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna pay you this money and we like
Yeah.
you a lot and you can be here for the next 20 years. Homeboy, you got the win at the
Yeah.
Division 1 level. So talk about
Yeah.
that pressure, because the pressure to graduate, okay, you did it. Now
Mhm.
you at the place. Let's talk about now you got the dream.
Well, no matter what situation I'm in life, there's one thing that I live by, and like I believe in fear,
Yeah,
and a lot
man.
of people say, okay, what fear are you talking about? I'm not talking about the fear of being afraid and
Right,
not knowing, and you just really don't want to move forward because you don't know the outcome, and
right,
I'm not it's not that fear. It's my fear is facing everything and rising. You put a circumstance or a situation or a problem in front of me or a job, I'm going to face everything and rise,
Right.
because I know I have it here. I know I have it here. And I know most importantly, I got it there,
Right.
So I get to Division 1, I get to Arkansas State, and college coaching, as far as entry level college
Hmm.
coaching, is a young man's sport. It's a young
Yeah.
man's business
Yeah.
because you're doing a lot of traveling, you're doing a lot of recruiting. Your days typically begin at 4 or 5 a.m. A lot of times they end, after midnight. You're on state to state, city to city, and you're trying to juggle your work life balance, and most of these young coaches don't have families, they don't have kids, they don't have, they're just fresh out of college themselves, so they're
Right.
allowed to kind of hit it a little differently. But I was in a unique situation that I was a lot older than my counterparts that were
Hmm.
entering the business. But what I leaned on is my wisdom, my relationships and my connections with people and players.
There you go. That's
That's
it.
one of the things that I've been blessed with is, once we come in contact with each other,
It's a
you're
wrap.
going, it's something about, what I'm saying, me that you're going to remember, you know what I mean? And
That's
so
it.
I just leaned on what was inside of me and didn't
Hmm.
try to do it any different, kept that same personality. I was honest. And you make your mark first as a recruiter.
Right.
Now, black men in college sports, they always want us to go recruit. But when it
Absolutely.
comes time to game plan and things like that, we got it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, hey, that's it. But I always knew that I was smarter or as smart as anybody doing X's and O's. Like I
That's
just
it.
felt that. I just have this confidence about me. Maybe it ain't true, but I believe it in myself. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That I'm pretty
Absolutely.
smart when it comes to X's and O's, in addition to being able to recruit. But that's what I did. I knew to get in the door that I had to recruit. And so, I recruited differently. I recruited, uh, you know, there's kids that's, ranked number 4 in the country. Everybody's going to want to recruit him. But what
Absolutely.
about that kid from Palestine
That's
that
it.
don't nobody know about? You know what I'm
Nobody.
saying? But you saw something that you feel that will translate. I was that guy. Austin Reeves, that plays for the Lakers. Now he's from Arkansas, and I seen him play in way, like, you have the main gyms in Las Vegas.
Right.
When during that tournament, but then you have the gyms that's like way in the back, like the auxiliary gym. I'm passing through the auxiliary gym, and this kid catches my eye. 6'7", white kid that's shooting it, that's handling it. He got a little swagger to him. He just
Hmm.
blocked the shot. Oh my God. He crossed somebody over and got to the rim, finished with the contact. So I go back and I tell my coach, yo, this dude, you know what I'm saying? I saw this kid. It's definitely, you ain't saw no kid back there in that back gym. Man, y'all trust me. So I bring a couple guys on our staff back there with us, and it blew their mind. And I said, guess what? He's from a country town outside of Jonesboro, population of 200-300 people. You know what I mean? And man, it was crazy. So I just trusted my eyes, and
That's
I
it.
trusted my vision for what, what I'm saying, a Division 1 basketball player looked like. And it wasn't all Hollywood. I knew that when you have something inside of you, when you have a story, when you have a why, when you're beating or trying to beat the odds, I know once you step out in between those lines, there's a different that's a different player than the
That's
guy,
it.
that the white picket fist guy.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
I made my first mark as a recruiter.
That's it.
And then, once that grew, the coach trusted me. And I tell you what, the funny thing is, I became like we had this thing called a 6-man club, where they brought all the alumni, and all the fans or whatever would come in, and they would, it was probably once a month, and it would
Right.
be right before our games, and we would speak about the opponent, the state of the program, and things like that. And I think everybody else kind of had a fear of speaking in front of people, and I'm like, I got it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So I would
it.
go in and speak at these events, and I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of people. None of them look like me,
That's
but
it.
I connected with those people also, and so I
Hmm.
became just a favorite of our staff and our community, and everybody loved me and they loved my authenticity. So
Right.
that's kind of how I started in basketball. But then, like I said, I wanted more. I wanted to be someone who was actually involved in the everyday planning, of the game of basketball. And I asked God, like, hey, I'm just not a recruiter. I'm so much more than that. And
Absolutely.
my brother passed away in the
Mm,
process. And so I lose my best friend, I lose my brother, the closest person to me on earth. But then, because of his death, you know, I want to come back home. I want to get
right.
closer to home, be closer to family. Because once again, I've been on this journey for the last, 6, 7 years,
That's right.
and I'm missing birthdays. I'm missing,
Yeah.
I'm missing momentous occasions for my family back home. So I asked God, man, get me back home. Work it to where I can get back home. And guess what? Our coach abruptly retired, and when the coach abruptly retired, Texas Southern University, a women's basketball program, gave me a call and offered me the job of the associate head coach. And they said, we need someone that can X and O, and someone that can put us in place to win a championship and go to the NCAA tournament. And you're
That's
going to
it.
be heavily involved in everything day to day, from recruiting to planning practices to just the overall operations of a program. And that's all I needed to hear. And so
That's
I've,
it.
I've been here in Houston ever since. I came back the first year at Texas Southern. Man, I'll tell you what, it's nothing like a magical run,
It's
and in
nothing like it.
basketball, but in life too. And it's
That's it.
just everything comes together perfectly. And my
Right.
first year at Texas Southern, everything came together perfectly. And we won the league, we won the conference tournament, and then we go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in Texas Southern history. The
Incredible.
women's basketball program went to the NCAA tournament, and Texas Southern has had some lean years, prior, to us getting there or what have you. But like it all came together for us, and I would like to say I was instrumental, in pushing
Absolutely.
those buttons. And so
Yeah.
He's given me everything that I've asked for.
Right.
I'm telling you, there's nothing that I haven't asked for that he hasn't given me. But let me tell you the funniest thing right here. So now, once again, you're constantly you're achieving goals and you're resetting goals. So if you
Right.
have the same goal and it's been 10, 20 years, you might want to change that
You
goal
got
a
to
little bit.
change
That
it,
might
man. You
not
got to
be what
update
God
it.
wants for you.
That's
So
it.
I update my goals now and I say, I want to be a head coach. I want to be a head basketball coach at Division 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So once again, I have the resume. I've had the NCAA berth, uh, and the job at Texas Southern comes open, uh, and I don't get it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Our coach got another job. Thought I was the front runner. Knocked the interview out the park, and I don't get the job. They hired
Man.
the great Cynthia Cooper,
Absolutely.
WNBA legend. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I can take a loss to a Hall of Famer, and so
Absolutely.
she allowed me to stay on her staff as the associate head coach. Um, and like immediately just being transparent, like I had, what I'm saying, like I managed the day-to-day operations, but she said, I got all the basketball. I don't really need your help as far as basketball is concerned. So, I'm twiddling my thumbs a lot of times in practice. I work with the post players, but just not very involved in our planning and things like that. And
Right.
she just kind of how she ran it. And then after a couple years with her, I'm wondering, like, God, yeah, I asked you, I told you I wanted to be a Division
The
One
head
coach. Don't look
guy.
like I
Yes,
say.
sir.
And then this thing called COVID hits. This
Yeah.
thing called COVID hits, and we look up one day, and she got COVID, and half of our team has COVID, and
Incredible.
they like, Carlos, I need you to, what I'm saying, to get us through this patch. So that was like a 4 or 5 game stretch where I was the acting head coach,
Mm-hmm.
during this COVID breakout that we had on our team, and we actually set a record. We only had 5 players, and we scored over 100 points. First time that 5 players in Division 1. I think we scored 103, 104 points with 5 players. But
Incredible.
I just came in. I said, I got to be authentic. Once again, I always talk about being authentic to myself. I can't do this how you
Mm-hmm.
done it, Coach. With all due respect, I got to be me with these players if my message is going to resonate to them. And I came in, man. I opened it up. I allowed us to have fun on offense. We locked in on defense. and we did the little things. We were about each other. We was about a team. The main thing is we competed. And I just said
Yeah,
at the end of the games, like if we competed, that's all I'm asking for. If we
that's it.
compete, we leave it all on the floor. And so we had a magical, 4 game stretch where the energy, we re-energized the arena, the fans, the players were, excited. And then, coach came back and we finished that season. And at that point, you know what I'm saying, I just was burnt out, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I decided, like I'm done, you know what I'm saying, for now. I'm gonna say see you later. I'm not gonna say goodbye, but I'll say see you later. But I laugh because I asked God, I want to be a Division 1 coach, and He's like, I gave you, what you asked me for. So you
I
got to
gave.
be real specific when
I'm
you're
trying to
praying and
tell
when you're
you.
asking.
I'm
And I
trying to
learned my
tell you.
lesson about being specific during that time. But I appreciate that moment. It's a
Yeah.
moment that's in the history books. And no matter what, I achieved that goal of being a Division 1 coach, albeit for a short period of time. But I
Right.
actually attained that goal also.
Well, man, see, this is the thing. Like I had a question. One of the things that says, "What about your passion wakes you up
Mm-hmm.
and then drives you?" It's a two-part question because there is a thing of there are things in our life that gets us up, right? Um, but then there are things in life that drives you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the whole time I'm listening to you tell this whole your story about your journey, even though man, you had to share some difficult stuff about your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Even hey, you're in the place now. You have the resume to get the job. You got the put back in, but you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Not one time during this interview, man, you've been telling this story with a smile.
Yeah.
For me, that speaks volumes because it
Mm-hmm.
tells me, like, when you live on the inside of what's living on the inside of you, even though you face adversity, it's not a struggle. It's not something that's depleting. It's not something
No.
that that you just having to regret. When you live inside of what's living inside of you, first off, you living in the thing that God designed you to be and to do. And I'm telling you, if you could ever, whoever you are listening, if you could ever get to that place and get in that place, I'm not saying life is going to be full of cherries, but you're going to be so fulfilled. I'm
Right.
listening to Carlos. There's a fulfillment. And even though, like he said, he didn't tell them, he didn't tell them goodbye. He told them, see you later for now. I still hear the fulfillment in his heart, in his voice, you know. Um, and we know in the workforce, man, that's just not the case. The
Right.
average person, man, will tell you in a minute, man, they be like, I want to tell my job to kick rocks and die. I'm just
Right.
straight up telling you, man,
Right.
like
Right.
they do it because they have to provide for their family. Other people are dependent on them. But when you do
Right.
what you love, man, even though you get paid and you have all the other things, you can truly, truly tap into being who you are and then be a blessing to people. See, that's the
Right.
greatest earmark. See, if I could go back and I could go and interview different players, staff members, faculty at those various schools, not just TSU, I guarantee you if you stick your finger in the oil of the interviews, the oil is going to taste the same because why? The person you were at those different places. Now, obviously, you've grown at the different
Mhm.
places, but your contribution and the reason you could give that contribution at those places is because you were living inside of what's inside of you. And that's
Right.
what this whole thing is to get people to figure out what it is. Like you said, you had always wanted to do it. I
Mhm.
believe there are people now who have big vision inside of them, but they are afraid to step out, especially those of us that are in our stages of life, right? And you like,
Yes.
man, it's a wrap. It's
Yeah.
over. Why am I doing it? Look, you see me on here doing this now, and I got a bunch of irons in the fire right now. Um, but the season for me to do the things just presented itself here in the last 2.5 years,
Right.
right? And so I dare not look at the season of life I am to say no. Well, I missed my time, or it's too. It's time to run out on the clock. That's now. I'm still breathing.
Right.
Right. The thing on the inside of me is burning like it was, whether it was 20 years ago or if it's right now. So now you're in this, I call it I'll say passionately transition. You've transitioned.
Yeah.
Um, talk a little bit about talk about and I want you to talk about the mind of this thing now. Um, because you said some key things. Because there is a such thing as doing the thing you love or being living in the thing that's on the inside of you. You said a couple of things. You said you got burned out,
Mm-hmm.
and you use the categories of the burnout. You said physically,
Mm-hmm.
mentally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what that looks like. Help people know. Help people. Help some people to know how to navigate that, because I think sometimes we mistake burnout for the end,
Right.
right?
No.
And one of the things, my wife, man, she's been retired now 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my thing was, look, whatever you decide to do in retirement, man, you work this job 30 years. So whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, you've earned the right to do it. I want to
Okay.
support that. But all I'm asking is, before you officially retire, make sure that you already retire, and make sure that it's not that you just need a long break, because
Right.
that's a different. Because
Right.
if you retire and you needed just a long break, you may not be able to go back and reset some things.
Right.
So she did.
Right.
She went through the process and she thought about it, and she's like, no, I'm ready to go.
Right.
So she did. And she has been. Obviously, she's picked up some other things to get her out the house and be around that type of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when the sister left, she was like, I'm through. So
Congrats.
I think
Yeah.
that's critical. Talk a little bit about that, Carlos, what that looks like. How's that feel? How do we handle those situations?
Well, the thing is, and I was speaking to Honky Cooper, and both of us know him well. A family member. He's on the staff at San Diego State University, and he always has profound words for me in any situation that I'm in. And when we spoke about self preservation,
Okay.
and basically like, okay, you love your family and you want to be there for your family, and your family is your why. But if you don't have self preservation, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be of any value to the people that you love the most.
That's it.
And that's what stuck out uh, the most to me is that statement. And so here I am, pouring my life into this job, to this field, um, helping um, these young men and women figure out life and attain their goals. And I'm burning the candle on both ends. But by the time I get home, I'm really no value to my kids,
That's it.
to
That's
my
it.
family.
That's it.
And so, my house, it has always been, most important to me, but I haven't displayed that at times
Mm-hmm.
because I was so focused and committed to climbing this ladder of this thing that we call success in
Right.
the coaching world. So, with that being said, physically, I had gained. You're talking about someone who was an athlete, but
Absolutely.
now here's this big time athlete that played above the rim, and it was cat quick, and had every muscle that you're supposed to have as a young man. And here I
Right.
am weighing 270 pounds. You
Yeah,
know,
man. Yeah.
okay, that's number one thing. Mentally, just have so many things that's going on in my head, so many scenarios on what's next, how I'm gonna get through this, and we got the big game tomorrow, and I got to go get this recruit, and oh, this kid is failing, I got to get him eligible, and you got all these things, so your mind is racing, and it never even slows down. It begins to take a
Right.
mental toll on you to where physically, like, you can't sleep
Right.
at night. You know what I mean? There's a lot of restless nights. There's just you're taking a pill to go to sleep, but then you get up in the morning, you got to drink a 5 hour energy to get going. You know what I'm saying? On Red Bull. So,
Yep.
so mentally, it's taking this toll on me. to where the stress and things are beginning to have an effect. And then on spiritually, you forget that you can just call one name,
Hmm.
and that's the name of Jesus. And this thing, he's gonna go to work for you. but
Absolutely.
you but you get but you kind of put that part that that'll work. You put that on the back burner because you feel like, man, I'm kind of like out here by myself, and where you at? You know what I mean? And
Right.
so you kind of say, I'll handle it by myself.
Right.
But that doesn't work. And
Right.
so I made it a point. At the same time, we got so many people, Harry, back home, you and I both know, that are dying for
Oh
whatever
man.
reason, but
Oh
they're
man.
in their 40s and their 30s, their
Young.
50s. I just lost my niece in her mid 30s, and things was cool on Saturday. And everybody's talking to her, and yeah, okay, but we'll see you there. And then Sunday morning, she went to sleep Saturday night and didn't wake up,
Crazy,
and
man.
so life is a blessing.
Yeah.
Each day that God wakes you up,
It is,
it's
man.
it's a victory.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I gotta appreciate life more. Just the
Absolutely.
essence of life, just having breath in your body. and
Yeah.
and so I've just felt like it was best for me to step away from the game so I can regain and control my life. And
Right.
so that's what happened is, I stepped away. The first thing I did is it became a praying man again.
Yeah,
At
man. Yes,
night when
sir.
I went to sleep and when my feet hit the ground in the morning, I'm going to give it to God. I'm saying, all glory, and thank Him for everything that He's done for me.
That's it.
And so that's my first adjustment that I made. And then
Yeah.
my second adjustment is say, you know what? I'm going to start eating right, and I'm going to start exercising every day. Now it's just like that list of classes. I'm 270 now, but
Right.
I'm gonna start marking these pounds off, and kind of getting back, to some optimal health. And
Yeah.
I started doing that. And it's amazing when you do the spiritual and you do the physical, the mental, it all ties in
It
together.
does. It
I
does.
I started getting off of social media and started reading a little bit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And start getting back into books, getting back to exploring and researching different things. And so my life kind of just it came back together. And I know, and then we talked about, the whys, like what gets you up in the morning and what drives
Absolutely.
you. Um, Absolutely, what gets me up when God wakes me up, it's just He's giving me an opportunity that that
Mm.
that some people didn't have.
That's
That
it.
night before, there was some people that was here that don't have it today. And so that's the first thing. You give me an opportunity. I have breath in my body. That means I have a chance to do the great things that I was put on earth to do. And so
Right.
that's what gets me going.
Right.
And then once I'm going, it's my wives, it's my family, it's creating generational wealth for even when I'm gone, my
Yes, sir.
grandkids, my
Yes,
great
sir.
grandkids will have something that they can call their own, and they don't have to start from the
Right.
beginning. They can
That's
get a
it.
head start in the race like some others. That's one of the things I want to do. And then I want to do positive things to leave a legacy, to leave
Yeah.
a good name, because there's nothing more valuable on earth than a good name. You know what
Trying
I'm
to tell
saying?
you.
You can get
Trying
into
to tell you.
some doors, you can get into some avenues with a good name, but sometimes you don't have money. And
Right.
so those are the things that I'm focused on now in life, and establishing to where I can create that for my family.
Oh man, incredible. I was telling you, man, we have so many things alike. Our focuses are aligned, like we're on the same path, doing some of the same things. And so, like for me, what was so ironic is um obviously, like I said, we don't talk, there's not a connect, that type of thing. But I tell people this all the time, like life is about seasons, it's about markers and places. And this is, I believe this, I live this. You'll get to a point when you are focused on your purpose, your destiny. You're focused on living on the inside of the thing that's on the inside of you. What's going to happen is God's going to, if you know anything about a org chart or organization chart, you know how the thing is set up. And we have, when you make a choice to do whatever you're going to do, you have that type of organization or org chart, right? But
Right.
when you decide that you're going to live on the inside, of what's on the inside of you, God comes in and he reorganizes it. And when you're on your path, on your journey, God says, at this point, I need to connect you with this. I need to connect you with that, or I need to bring you into this relationship, or these paths need to cross, right? I say it this way. I believe that there are three relationships every person should have. The first relationship every person should have is there should always be a relationship or relationships that pull you up, meaning there are relationships that you can look up to, that you can actually learn from. They pour into you, and they give you a preview. They are a trailer of things to come if you put in the work to get there. So everybody needs that relationship. The second relationship is the Bible talks about how iron sharpeneth iron. That's the relationship where you guys are here together. They bring something that sharpens you, and then you bring something that sharpens them. And together, it is a powerful motion that helps to both of the relationships. And then the very last relationship is there needs to be people in your life that you're able to reach down and pull up,
Right.
right? And so when we were talking, and for me, um, when I do these, not all the time, but a lot of time I'll talk to my wife because it's like, man, I call her, she the second Holy Ghost, man. Her voice
Mhm.
sounds just like, I'm just telling you, man,
That's-
it's incredible you know, her perception
mhm.
of life, and I listen to her a lot. Now she better give me some kudos because she's like, "You're not listening to me." I just told the world, baby, I listen to
Yeah.
you. What do you think I do? And so when I'm bouncing things off of her, because I'm wanting to get the feel right, and so I was telling her about this, and she's like, "Man, like you always say, God knows when and the where."
Mhm.
Now, let's see, I'm trying to put the date on it. So I think this was at the beginning of COVID. So that was 2 years ago that we saw each
Okay.
other
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
funeral, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So when I saw you, now I already knew that you were coaching for
Mhm.
TSU,
Mhm.
and for me, I'm like, man, that's huge, just in itself, man. Anytime we can celebrate, our people doing anything, but especially when we from the hometown, from where we come from, anybody get out and doing anything, man, we sure enough want to celebrate it, right?
Right.
And so we didn't get a chance to talk. We just connected. And
Right.
so I think after that, we started following each other on social media. Then that's when I could start seeing the different things. That's when
Mhm.
I started getting like, man, I need to connect with Carlos. I don't know what all he's doing other than coaching
Right.
in life, but
Right.
I just know when the time is right,
Right.
God to connect it when it needs to happen. So when we talk and all the things you're talking about doing, we are actually doing the same thing. Some of
Yes.
it has a different heartbeat, but the focus of it, the vision of it, and the
Right.
long-term goal of it is the same thing. I'm saying
Right.
that to say this to somebody. Um, you know, two dudes who used to be at Lincoln at the party dancing could never have imagined that our
Right.
paths would be where they are. The things that we're doing in life, there's so some even coaching the way you coach the sport. That's what I do in life. I coach people. God's given me a unique title for what I do. It's called a potential conditioner. People hear that
Mhm.
all the time. It's like, man, what in the world is that? And I break it down this way. I say, listen, I said, you know this as a recruiter. I said, you'll go see a kid play. And like you say, it's something about that kid. Every kid in here, they doing their thing, right? But this kid has it, and it's something about him that identifies with our program. And
Right.
so you go through the recruiting process and you recruit him, right? Watch this. The kid, his family, they make the decision to come to TSU, Arkansas State, wherever you're
Mhm.
coaching. Watch this. When they get there, right? You recruit them off of the potential.
Mhm.
You recruit them off of the potential. You don't have anything else to recruit them off of other
Right.
than the potential that's in them, right? So you and I both know this. Um, they get there and you already know, hey, we're gonna coach them up. We're gonna train them up. Schools have, especially football season is here, is getting ready to jump off this weekend. And we're gonna see some the big boys play this weekend in college
Yes.
and pro. But you know, at those schools, they have what's called strengthening and conditioning coaches.
Yes.
Their job is just this, is to strengthen and to condition the potential that we recruited this kid on. That's why when you see kids, I remember when I was, I don't know if you remember when we was in school, one of the guys in our area that really went off to do some great things was Tony Brackens. Remember, he was
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Fairfield.
Fairfield. Yeah.
Man, but when he's this size,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, yeah, we good. Can you hear me now?
Okay. I
There we
got you.
go.
I got
So when he left, he looked like this. But then
you.
about 3 or 4 years later, he come back looking like this. I'm
Came back
telling
like
you,
Hulk.
at Texas, it's the part of the strength and the conditioning. They saw something in him. Those coaches, they work that potential, they strengthen it and they conditioned it. And so one day, man, I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this, and man, God dropped it in my heart. It's like you're a potential conditioner. What you're going to do is you're going to strengthen, you're going to condition the potential. Like I put the potential in people,
Wow.
but they need
Yes.
they need like a coach. We know what it's like in Palestine. People they think we be
Yeah.
playing, man, but we will come back in the from summer break and have to go to 2 days, man. It's 101, 102 degrees outside.
Right.
We out there in
Right.
football practice. I mean, but it was necessary for the season. And so when you look at
Right.
life, it's the same thing. I said that to say I don't know what it's like to sit on the side of a sidelines. And man, believe
Mhm.
it, this is crazy. That's why you got to go after. You have to live inside of what's living inside you. So I played at Paul Quinn Division 3 school.
Mhm. Mhm.
So and we had a run while I was there. We had a real nice run. So
Mhm.
anyway, I get there and I was going to school for business communications. Back then, they didn't have media degrees like they have it now. But I knew
Mhm.
I wanted to do something because I knew I felt like, man, I'm an entrepreneur. There's an entrepreneur in me. So I was going to figure that out. Cool. Everything's happening. Man, my best friend and two of the other guys, we all of these guys on the team, he was going to school as an elementary ed, and we had two other guys. And
Mhm.
man, we spent so much time together, man. And I remember talking to him, man, watching him go through the grind. Carlos, just like I'm talking to you, I remember the day God dropped in my heart. You need to switch your major to elementary education
Mhm. Mhm.
because I had a desire, man. I wanted to be a basketball coach, a high school basketball coach. I was like,
Right.
I know that's what I want to do, man. Because
Mhm.
I had already, I had grown up being like a mentor, even my
Right.
generation, right?
Right.
And it never went away, man. And I
Right.
remember, man, he was like, man, I'll help you do it. But man, I never stepped out and chased it. And to this day, man, it's one of the biggest regrets. I was like, man, I would have been a high school basketball coach and I would have been a history teacher.
Right.
But then I'm so thankful that what God put in me, I'm able to do it now. I do it in a different environment, in a different way. And I wouldn't even be doing that if I never embraced it. So I'm
Right.
telling you, like when you see it, when you know it's the thing, you can't ignore it, man. You gotta embrace it. You gotta
Right.
embrace it.
Right.
And the whole potential conditioner thing, man, just like God gave me my assignment, He gave me what am I trying to say? What my occupation name is. Like He
Mhm.
created a lane for me.
Right.
And when I think about the world, when I look at a generation of young black men that are full of potential, man, they got so much potential, man, but they're not doing anything with it. Like I can't sleep at night knowing I can do something to change the gauge. I can do something to change it. And so when everybody engaged at their place, that's what I'm saying. We can do some great things. So man, this has
Yes,
been
sir.
such a great conversation, Carlos, man, like hearing your journey and hearing what God has done, how He's done it, and then this is the great thing. He ain't finished, man. You just scratching the surface of things that
Mhm.
that you're gonna be doing.
Yeah,
And
most
so
definitely.
talk to us about because you're more than just a husband, a
Mhm.
father. You shared your history. You're also an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
That's the track that I'm on right now.
Right.
I'm all about it. I'm all in, and I believe more of us need to become entrepreneurs, take control really of what it is that you want to see, especially if you're talking about generational legacy and you're talking about generational wealth. You're going to have to become an entrepreneur at some point to see
Yes.
those things the way you really, really want them to be seen. So talk about, how that feels, man, and, what that looks like. And, people think it's just, they'll say, well, it's just for those. No, it's for anybody who will put their hands to the plow and do the work. So talk about it, man. Like the birth in it, you're in it. Talk a little bit about that. I think it's pretty cool.
Well,
People need to hear that.
well, it starts, with my family back in Palestine.
Got it.
I think, for a certain period of time, like in the 50s and the 60s, I felt like we were a prominent family.
Hmm.
My grandmother, my great grandmother had a cleaners. We had daycare centers. We had some things that were staples in the community. We had a restaurant that serviced the kids at Story School and the
Hmm.
employees and staff. So I've always been around businesses. My mother was a beautician, and my sister uh, is a beautician still to this day.
Right.
And so the entrepreneurship gene, I was born into it basically, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. And I'm going to rewind a little bit, like the ending of the Texas Southern situation. Like I already knew that I didn't want to, coach any further, after this past year. Um, and so when Coach announced her retirement, um, they basically told me that, we want to open this thing up and give, what I'm saying, everybody, a shot nationally, at putting their name in the hat. And at that point, that once again, that was God
It,
telling me, man, this ain't for you, brother.
it's the exit,
So
man. It's the
yeah, so
exit.
I'm like, I appreciate you, because there's so many more things that I want to do, that I want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
That's greater than basketball. And so the first thing that I want to do is create a sports agency. I
Yeah.
noticed that a lot of our athletes that I coached in college, that I recruited, that I'm familiar and close with, they have difficulties finding an agent, getting that right, management staff around them to guide their careers.
Right.
And there's not a lot of people that they can trust. And with my players, are my family. They're an
Absolutely.
extension of my family. They come eat at the table. They spend the night at the house. They take my daughter, to volleyball practice. They show up, for my family for funerals. You know what I'm saying? We go to
Yes.
church together. So
Yes.
we're a close knit group. And so they trust me and I trust them. So I thought naturally that'd be the greatest thing for me to stay in the business and the game that I love, would to be on the management side of it. So my niece and I, Ashley, we came up with the 1502 Sports Group,
Love
and
it.
so we're getting that off and running, which is a full scale sports agency, which we handle, the contracts, we handle the marketing, or even if you have an agent already. We can stand beside you and help you maneuver and make sure that they're held accountable as far as
Yeah.
the people that you put around them. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do, and that's one of the things that we're getting going now. And like I can't wait till we're hitting the ground running. Hopefully, by the NFL draft, the 2023 draft, we'll have this
Absolutely.
thing settled. And so that's one of the things that I want to do, and I began to do that. Another
Incredible.
thing, another thing that I'm doing currently is I became a health coach, to where I'm an independent contractor. I'm helping, people like me and you
That's
get our
it.
lives back in order,
Yeah,
and
man.
from a health standpoint. We're at that age that we can reverse whatever's going on right about
Absolutely.
now. But
Yes.
then if we get on up into our 50s, whatever we got to live with it and learn how to manage it. So
That's
I'm,
it.
I'm attacking that issue because I think that's one of the things in the Black community that that we haven't placed a premium on is our health,
Yeah.
and fitness. And so I parlayed my knowledge and my experience into that. And but the coolest thing that I'm doing is the cigar business. It's 1502 and Stern
Oh,
fine
wow.
cigars. You know what I mean? So my nephew and I, he introduced me to cigars a while back. And my brother, that passed away, that, we all, what I'm saying, used to have an occasional cigar. And that used to be a cool time for us. That was our yoga. That's
Right.
when the world stops and you're breathing and you're exhaling and you're just having great conversations. I've never smoked a cigar and I was angry ever. And if it was ever something on my mind, I let it go once I
Right.
lit the cigar up. So from the business standpoint, we developed 1502 and Stern Fine Cigar Company, which is a mobile cigar lounge. So we bring the cigar lounge to you, to your event, whether it's a wedding, birthday, corporate events and things like that. And since I haven't been coaching, we've been pretty busy. And then we were blessed to even extend that further. And we're about to debut our own cigar line, which is called La Avienda, the Avenue, Stern Avenue. If you may know where Stern Avenue
I
is,
do.
right?
Come
So
on.
so
Come on.
that's
You
that's a
know
oh
I know
that,
where it is.
yeah, I got you. That's an
Come
ode
on.
to our roots,
Yeah.
our
I love it.
past, our upbringing,
I love
and
it.
all the things that we stand for. So we're getting into that market from the on the manufacturer side of our own cigar line, and so that's exciting. That's fun. It's kind of like taking the place of basketball because it's a hobby, but it's something
Yeah.
that you would do for free. But it happens to be an actual business that can be
Yeah.
lucrative for us. And but the last thing that I'm working on, not the last thing, but the key to it all is the book. I want to put my journey on paper,
You have to.
and let people know it's never too late. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You looking at the quintessential quote unquote late bloomer, someone who gets their
Right.
degree after the age of 30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Someone who buys their first house, at the age of 40 something. You know what I'm
Come on,
saying?
man. Talk about
The
it.
first one that gets I get a new car, the first new car that I drove off the showroom, 40
Yeah.
something. Man,
Yeah.
I'm experiencing so many great things at this season in my life. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to slow down. I'm not going to give in to the old adage that, time is you got to slow down. And no, like,
No.
as long as God given me breath in my body, he's given me an
Yeah.
opportunity to do great things and to help others. But basically everything I do is I want to be able to help someone. I want to be able to go back to the youth or to that person that's trying to figure out, how do I get
Yeah.
out the streets and become a legitimate person? Man, I did that. I can show you how to do that. If you just listen, if you just trust and you read the story, hopefully
Yeah.
it'll inspire you to unlock that potential that's
Right.
inside of you. Because I think that we're all great. I think no man is greater than the other. It's, can you unlock that greatness and put it
That's
on
it.
full display and not
That's
be
it.
afraid and not be ashamed of that light that's inside of you. And I think we all have that potential. And
That's it.
and just to use that book as an avenue to create, that mindset that, hey, we can rise above our circumstances no matter what they may be. That's my
Oh, I
goal.
love it. I love it, man. The book is gonna be fire. And man, if you need any help with that, man, we can definitely lend our hand to help you with that. Because
Most
that is,
definitely.
trust me, that is the way. Um, like I never thought about being an author.
Mhm.
Um, and not in my wildest imagination, man. I just school. I hated school. I hated the only class, man, that I loved was history. History was
Yeah,
that class, man.
yeah.
I tell kids all the time, man, my favorite classes was history, lunch, and recess.
That's me in a
I'm just be
nutshell.
honest with you, man. I didn't like school in that way. But the reason I love history is because of those history teachers.
Uh,
Miss Hutt, man, she sparked something that was in me already, and it never left. Man, that happened like when I was in the seventh, eighth grade, whatever grade I
wow.
took her
Yeah.
in, man, and it just continued. When I got to high school, I had some pretty good history teachers, and I just that subject, and that's my life now. What a lot of his story when you break down
Mhm.
history. And
Right.
so I'm getting to about the author was I did a study a while back about the Willie Lynch,
Yeah.
the whole thing, man. And
Yeah.
just when you study that, there's so many other things that are connected to it. And I remember my grandfather, he had a third grade education. Man, he had to quit school to help work,
Mhm. Right.
and taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, math, all of that. And he told me one time, he said, they told him that if you want to keep something
Put
from
it
blacks, he said all you got to
put
do
it in
is
the book.
put it in the book because
Yeah.
they won't read.
Yeah.
And man, later in life, man, that just resonated with me. I was like, nah, I want to change the commentary on that. And
Yes.
I think we can write um, stories, we can tell the stories that need to be told that can have the impact that it needs to have. But I say this, when you and I grow up, I'm gonna put these names out there. And I don't have no issue with any of these books,
Mhm.
but I just want to show you how wide open it is and how there are so many things we have to give and to bring um quality to. When you and I grew up, there were pretty much three or four books that was just out there. Which
Mhm.
one? The first one was Clifford the Big Red Dog,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The other one was what? Green Egg and Hams.
Green egg and ham.
Sam I Am.
So,
And
yeah.
what's some other book I'm forgetting? Um oh my goodness, I can't think of it.
With me, it was Charlotte's Web. That was
Charlotte's
one of the
Web.
ones.
That's it.
Yeah.
Charlotte's Web,
So
right? That's it. Now
yeah.
when you think of these books, me and you are talking about what? Generational legacy and generational
Mhm.
wealth.
Mhm.
Whoever came up with the ideas of these books, their
Right.
great, 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 great grandchildren will never have to lift a finger
Right.
because of the person who dared to live inside of what was living inside of them.
Most
You
definitely.
can't go to
Yes.
no school, no elementary school, no daycare, no kind of institution of learning. And one of those books, if not all four of them, are somewhere. You ain't going to no library, and those books are in there.
Right.
My point
Right.
is, if they had of never tapped into what was on the inside of them, the world wouldn't know those books. So
Yeah.
when you think about us, when we write, like we can write the stories of children today.
Right.
I'm serious. Like this ain't no fluff. My book. I wish I could have went to a library and picked up the book. God has an app for that.
Mhm.
It would have helped keep me just out of some things because of how I wrote the book.
Mhm.
It's just like, man, you have to sometimes we're looking for help. And sometimes we need to be able to look for help and look in the mirror and see that it looks like me.
Most
That's
definitely.
that was so powerful
Most
about
definitely.
Barack Obama becoming president. Because for so
Mhm.
long, it was like, man, is it ever gonna happen?
Most
But
definitely.
bro, we experienced it happened. So that means what? It's possible. It's
Most definitely.
possible. And so, man, when I'm telling you, whatever's on the inside of you, it may not be being the president of the United States, but
Mhm.
whatever's on the inside of you, it is so valuable. And whatever it is, man, unlock it, release it, pour it on the world, and watch God bless it. Why is He
Right.
gonna bless it? Because He put it inside of you. Man,
Right.
look,
Most
you've been watching this whole interview, and we've been on here for a little bit, but now look at he's smiling now. He's not even talking. That's somebody who living in their purpose. They
Oh
walking
man.
out the purpose, man. And
Yeah.
so this has been good, man. This has been good, man. So if I would say, Carlos, like I told you, man, I sent you some questions. We didn't even get into them questions, man, because
Right.
I knew what you had was
We
going
just
to be
had a
so.
genuine conversation. Just
That's it, man.
and that's
That's it.
cool. Just two brothers talking,
Yeah, man. But
and
other
yeah,
brothers need to hear it. Like they
yeah,
need to hear it in this way. Like this is like straight up love, man. I know, man. We, how we grew up in a time where, guys necessarily, man. We, to be honest, we weren't taught to show affection for one another in
right,
that way. There was
right,
another term for it, and we ain't trying to go the other day.
right,
But I think that hurt us
yeah,
because if you be honest, in some of the most toughest times in your life, what a blessing it would have been to have another brother who been where you've been to be able to just like, hey, bro, hey, hold this pattern, hold this pattern.
right,
I
right,
look, I know they look like your flight almost out of gas, but trust me, man,
right.
there are some maneuvers that you can do in the cockpit that can still land the plane with the
Yes,
amount of gas you got left. But
yes,
it takes somebody, man, who's been there. And unfortunate, like you said, a lot of times, you and I don't know a lot of people that look like us that's been there, right?
most definitely.
And so I just feel we can change that. by doing the things that we need to do, man. And so when you talk about this, and I'll end my part of it with this. Where we come from, there's an entity there that's swallowing up young men that look like you and me. And majority of them don't have no business in there,
Yeah.
man. Don't have no business in there, man. They good guys.
Yeah.
They made some crazy choices, right? Because of
Right.
the environment. And now their whole life has been taken from them. And not just them, but the people who love them. So now
Right.
you got a perpetuation of a generation of kids not having their fathers. Now
Yes.
this young man got to grow up without a father. He trying to figure it out. And if don't nobody intervene, he gonna make worse decisions than the person that's in prison that should be in his life. And so I'm just like, man, enough is enough. It's
Yes.
a, it is enough is enough, man. I don't want to talk about statistics no more. Let's just create a new statistic. You
Right.
know what I mean? And so that's what I'm about. So not just me, but that's what you're about. Man, give us some closing words, Carlos, man. Cause man, we could be on here for another hour just because we
you
got the stories, man. God has been with us, man.
yeah.
We've experienced it. And give us some closing words, man. Encourage somebody right now who's watching and say, yeah, man, I hear y'all and I'm happy for the things that you've accomplished, but man, I just don't think that's for me, man.
Right.
Give somebody some hope, man.
Man, it's life naturally is going to have its obstacles. It's going to have its ups and downs, and it's not always going to be peaches and cream. But God have given us this ability to overcome and to persevere, and we just need a few tools to
That's
to
it.
to accomplish that. One is a belief in Him, and two is a belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. And we have overcame, and this is for everybody in the whole world. Harry, everything that you've been through, everything that I've been through, we've overcame it because we're
Yeah.
here now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
we're here now, so
Right.
it wasn't that bad. As bad as it may seem, it's
Right.
never that bad, and that breakthrough is coming if we
Right.
just stay positive and stay heading in the right direction. And you speak about the smile that I keep on my face, and I'm
Yeah.
smiling because I know everything's going to be all right. Sometimes I
That's
don't know
it.
how it's going to be all right, but I
That's it.
know that it's going to be all right, and I truly believe that. And I think life, how you view life and how you live life, is indicative of how you see things.
Yeah.
The glass half full or is it half empty? I'm
Right.
just it's half full. I just try to view it through a positive lens, and I just think that if we just keep moving forward, putting one foot in front of the other, and believing that no
Yeah.
matter what your circumstance is, man, we can turn it around
We can turn it
for the
around, man.
betterment of yourself and others. And your story is so important.
It
Everybody
is.
that's going through something, your
Mm-hmm.
story is so important that it could navigate that person coming from behind to
Yeah.
not hit that same tire that's in the road.
That's
And
it.
so we have to live out loud more. And that's one of the things that I appreciate you inviting me on this podcast, is because some of the things that I've mentioned on this podcast I haven't said before in a
Man.
public forum. So only my family and my close friends know who I
Wow.
really am and what I've really been through. So, you
Incredible.
definitely, that's where relationships come to play, where now I'm
Absolutely.
comfortable. I take my guards down, and I know you'll take these words and you'll make it to where people, or you'll give me the avenue to allow this to touch someone in a positive manner, instead of saying, man,
Absolutely.
that dude did this and that's just crazy, blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just being positive and spreading positivity and spreading love. And I think that if we continue to have dialogues like this, if we
Absolutely.
continue to write our stories down, if we continue to tell our stories, continue
Right.
to mentor these youth, um, we can turn this thing around. I truly believe that we can turn this world around, one kid, one person at a time. And it's all in the
Absolutely.
youth. It's us getting ourselves together as men and going back and getting these youth. And in turn, I think we start to win this battle a little bit. So, basically that's my closing statement is, man,
Yeah.
you got breath in your body. I've said this 3 or 4 times. You got breath in your body. You have an opportunity, and that's
That's
all
it.
I'm asking for is
Yeah.
just you continue to fight.
That's it, man. That's good stuff, man. That's
Yeah.
real good stuff. Come on, New Balance Podcast. Show my brother some love. Carlos Wilson, man. Incredible story. Can't wait for the book to come out, man. We're going to jump all over it. Matter of fact, man, when you get ready to release it, man, hit me up with the info. I'm going to flood my social with it. I'm going to put it on my
Perfect.
platform, man. Look, we want everybody to go get it. And we
Perfect.
want to spread the word, man. There are a bunch of guys that look like us, man, that need what we have. And we're going to do our part to make sure that they get it, man. So, hey, man, before we get out of here, as we always say, man, it is strength for today, sustenance for tomorrow. It's your boy, your potential conditioner, H2O. We'll see you next episode. Peace.